This one I bet you're tired of hearing about. But we have got to take the regulatory changes much more seriously and much more proactively. I am shocked when I talk to companies at how much they are brushing off what's going on. And I'm not going to go into all those details now. Again, everyone here has probably seen a lot of it. But what I have seen is a lot of companies don't really think it applies to them. And they give me some of the craziest reasons for that. And let me tell you this, and there's people on the call right now that I think could attest to this, but the regulators aren't interested in reasoning with you. Okay. They aren't. Everything that I have heard from people who've gone through that experience said, don't fool yourself. Okay. So we've got to take it seriously. And I will tell you, your logic is ignored. Okay. You are responsible. Let me just give an example. I was talking to a company recently, and they have something in their comp plan that I think they should change. And they think they should change it for multiple reasons, but one is a regulatory reason. And they let me know that, hey, it's their IT system, going back to another resolution, but it's their IT system that doesn't allow them to update that. And I said, well, that's great. I said, but if FTC comes calling, they're not going to care about your IT company. Okay. It's on you. And so we've got to take more responsibility here as a company in an industry. Here's what I see happening a lot. We've got to be more focused on improving what we do than we are on protecting what we've done. Now then, that sounds like I'm saying, oh boy, we've done bad stuff. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is most of the time, the response that I hear from people is, well, this is just what we do. We've got to protect that. And I do think there's an element of protection that needs to be in place. And hear me out. I definitely think some of the regulatory things that are going on are vast overreach. Okay. But my next point says the game has changed and we aren't the referees. So the other part of this is the fact that it kind of doesn't matter what I think because I'm not in charge of the game. I play in the game, but I'm not in charge of how it works. I liken it, in recent years in football, they've put in all kinds of rules to protect the quarterback. And they're pretty silly rules because you've got this 250-pound linebacker coming in to try to take out the quarterback. But if that quarterback throws it and he ends up hitting him, you've got all this momentum and inertia in place. But if they hit him, it's a big time penalty. Okay. Now then, most of us watching, and especially the players, would say, well, that's just stupid. But it doesn't matter what the player thinks. If the player keeps doing that, they're just going to keep getting penalized. So we have to recognize that the game that we are playing in is not the ones that we're the referees. Should we fight in certain areas? Of course. But we also need to recognize, we talk all the time about game changers. Well, this has been a game changer. And we have got to recognize the rules of the game we're playing, or else we won't succeed at the game. And so I would urge everyone to be proactive. I know I talk to a lot of companies who feel like, all this stuff, there's no way all of it's going to change. And you're probably right. But I bet you some of it will. As a matter of fact, I think that's kind of the tactic. Throw the kitchen sink at the wall and whatever sticks, the regulators will take. So we've got to be more aggressive here and more proactive about how we are adjusting. And we have to be faster because the other thing that's going to happen is the regulators aren't going to say, oh, I see you have it planned for a 2025 rollout. They're going to be like, no. It should happen today. It should have actually happened 5 years ago. So we've got to be prepared for that. And we have to assume that something could happen. All right. Because that's another thing that companies are like, well, who's going to care about us? And you might be right, but boy, that's a big risk.